Welcome to another vlog. Here we are in sunny Edinburgh. As you can see, it may be sunny, but it is still freezing even though it is the end of April. So I have my hat on and I have my gloves. That's a nice idea. They've carved out part of a boat and made it into a bench where you can sit and have a great, lovely view of the main attraction. So just before we drive into Edinburgh, I've decided to stop off next to the water, and of course we can see in the background Scotland's most famous bridge. Beautiful bridge, beautiful piece of architecture. I have seen a couple of trains go across, so I'm going to send the drone up and we'll see what we can see. So I'm here, not just by myself. Ella's not here, she is at work. I have come to sunny Edinburgh, and here we are with my good friend Stephen.
Hiya.
How are we doing today?
Alright.
Yeah, so I've known Stephen a long time, since 1998, so what's that, 26 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen has lived here since 2005, nearly 20 years, so what better way to see Edinburgh than with an adopted local. So Edinburgh Castle at 12 o'clock.
Yep.
Other landmarks. Arthur's Seat, 3 o'clock.
Arthur's Seat, 3 o'clock. You've got the Scott Monument, the spire between Edinburgh Castle.
Yeah.
Just to the right.
And what's it called? Is it the Kingdom of Fife? Or?
The Kingdom of Fife, yeah.
The Kingdom of Fife.
We drove back to the city centre, and the good weather had brought the people out, where we could see a lot of them socialising and relaxing in the park. We pressed on further into the centre and marvelled at the style and design of the buildings.
So we have the McEwen Hall in front of us, and what is the significance of this building?
Well, certainly for students of Edinburgh Uni, it's where they graduate at the end of their studies.
So just walking across the streets of Edinburgh, and we are about to reach a famous monument called Greyfriars Bobby. What do we know about Greyfriars Bobby?
Greyfriars Bobby was a terrier in the 1800s, and when his owner died, the legend has it that Bobby slept at his owner's grave for 14 years afterwards, and Bobby's become a legend within Edinburgh for the loyalty he showed towards his former owner.
What a loyal dog.
Aye.
You can see the parts of Bobby that have been touched the most. Obviously there's parts of Bobby that are gold, so what's happened, like they've corroded over time? Or? You can obviously see that he's a popular landmark to visit by the crowd that's there. So just walked up the street from not far from Greyfriars Bobby, and we've come across another famous landmark. So there's a coffee place here called, what's the coffee place called? The Elephant House. And this is basically the birthplace of Harry Potter, where J.K. Rowling would come down many mornings, drink some coffee and think up the inspiration to write Harry. As we arrive to the most famous street in Edinburgh, the Royal Mile, we may as well tell you 3 facts about Edinburgh.
So it's the second most visited city for tourists in the UK. Its population size increases by almost a half over the summer months due to the various festivals, and also its nickname from the old times is Ould Reekie, based on the smell generated by the smoke over the old town.
It must have been quite the pong.
Oof.
We were amazed at the skill needed to make the sculptures lining the exterior of the cathedral. Each sculpture told its own story and added to the beauty of the structure.
Outside St Giles Cathedral, and I just showed you on the ground there was a heart with some spit on it.
The heart of Midlothian marks the location of the old Tolbooth, a notorious prison that was demolished in 1817. Originally, people spat on it for the former justice system that it represented. Today, people still spit on it, but more so as a sign of good luck.
As you walk up the Royal Mile, you'll find an abundance of shops offering everything from souvenirs to traditional Scottish goods like whisky and wools. Edinburgh Castle sits at the top, a symbol of Scotland's capital.
Made it to the top of the Royal Mile, and behind us is Edinburgh Castle.
The origin of Edinburgh Castle dates back to at least the 12th century, with some parts possibly constructed even earlier. The castle is one of Scotland's most iconic landmarks. It has served as a royal residence for centuries, and it has also functioned as a military stronghold. The castle houses the crown jewels of Scotland, and an interesting fact is that every day, except Sundays, a cannon is fired from the castle at precisely 1 o'clock. This is a tradition that dates back to 1861 to help ships in the Firth of Forth synchronise their clocks.
And we are stood on the Esplanade.
Yep.
And this is where the Edinburgh military tattoo happens each summer.
Yeah, world famous.
The tattoo, of course, is not something that you put on your skin. It is a military procession where various arms of military play music
And march. And up to 8,800 people a night watch this procession take place in this flat area next to the castle, where you can see people walking right now.
We started to make our way back down the Royal Mile.
And as you walk down the Royal Mile, you go from listening to people playing upbeat music to the bagpipes, the sound of the bagpipes. In Princess Park, we have the Scots Monument. And what is the significance behind this monument?
It's a memorial in Walter Scott's memory. I believe it's the second tallest monument in the world dedicated to a writer.
Coming up from Princess Street Gardens takes us up to probably the second most famous street in Edinburgh, Princess Street, which is the main shopping street. Another unique fact about Princess Street, you can see that all the shops are actually on one side rather than on both sides. Today is not the day for me to go shopping, so we've turned back, heading back towards Princess Street Gardens and the Scottish National Art Gallery in front of us.
Art galleries are not usually my thing, yet here I was in my second art gallery in 2 days in Scotland. Maybe I have a new hobby. There were some impressive paintings in the gallery, with works by famous artists, such as Rembrandt, Monet, and Van Gogh. Perhaps the most iconic painting in the gallery is that of Monica of the Glen, not the TV show from the early 2000s, but the famous painting of the Red Deer Stag, which is now used in different variations as a logo for Glenfiddich single malt whisky, and also on some different biscuit or shortbread tins. After the National Gallery, we made our way beyond the east end of Princess Street towards the iconic Calton Hill. A must-visit for any traveller to the city. The first stop begins with the imposing National Monument. This is often referred to as Scotland's disgrace.
So behind me we have the National Monument, which commemorates the lives of the Scottish lives lost during the Napoleonic Wars. It was supposed to be based on the Parthenon in Greece, but they ran out of materials and it was actually never completed.
Despite this, it offers a striking silhouette against the city skyline.
Near to the National Monument stands the Nelson Monument. This is dedicated to Admiral Lord Nelson.
Climb to the top for breathtaking views of the city and beyond. Next, we encounter the elegant Dugald Stewart Monument. This honours the Scottish philosopher. Its neoclassical design adds to the charm of Calton Hill. Here we have the City Observatory, a historic landmark turned into a science centre. Explore its exhibits and learn about Edinburgh's astronomical history.
From this vantage point, you can see St Andrew's House, the seat of the Scottish Government, as well as Holyrood Palace, the official residence of the monarch in Scotland, and just beyond, Easter Road Stadium, the home to Hibernian Football Club. Calton Hill truly offers a glimpse into Edinburgh's past, present and future. It makes it a must-see destination for any visitor to this beautiful city. Just as a side note, you've probably noticed the building with the swirl at the top that looks like a poo dropped from up high. This controversial building is the W Hotel and has actually won an award for the worst building in the world. It has been given the nickname of the Golden Turd by many locals in Edinburgh. Personally, I don't actually think it looks that bad. After Calton Hill, we had one last main area to explore, around the bottom end of the Royal Mile.
The Scottish Parliament over my shoulder. This is where Scottish MPs come and meet. They have discussions. This is where they can make and pass laws. The latest and most controversial one, of course, was hate speech. So if you hate on anybody, you say something bad, they can come and arrest you. And now behind me is the famous Palace of Holyrood House.
The palace was originally founded as a monastery in 1128. It later became a royal residence in the early 16th century. When not in use by the royal family, the palace is open to visitors year-round, offering guided tours that provide insight into its rich history and royal connections.
Back in the green spaces, the meadows, in the centre of Edinburgh. A place where people can chill, relax, sit down, spend time with friends and family. Gonna go into the open grass, send the drone up, and then a bit of a Q&A with our local. So, as we walk through this green space, what's this green space called?
The Meadows.
The meadows. As we walk through the meadows, just going to ask you a few questions that might give the viewers just a bit of an insight as what they can expect when they come to Edinburgh.
Yep.
Just a few hints and tips. So basically, obviously when you come to Edinburgh, everybody knows all about the castle.
Yep.
Everybody knows about Prince's Street. Can you enlighten people as to maybe something that's less well known that they could come and see?
Well, there's some really nice vantage points, which are places like Blackford Hill, Corstorphine Hill, which give you really nice views of the city and tend to be a bit less busy than Calton Hill and Arthur's Seat. So I really like those spots.
A lot of people are foodies, they like the grub. Any local dishes that you might recommend? Scottish, Edinburgh?
Well, Scottish dishes, I like Cullen's skink, which is a soup, not from Edinburgh but from further north on the Moray coast. A really nice fish soup, or classic Scottish dish, haggis, neeps and taddies.
Hags, what are neeps?
They are like a turnip in Swede.
And haggis, what's inside haggis?
It's like insides.
Insides, you're selling it very well.
Yeah, thank you.
Insides of?
Sheep.
And to drink?
Single malt whiskey.
Non-alcoholic? Iron brew. Has to be Iron brew. Can't go wrong with Iron brew.
Yeah.
Lovely drink. Just watch, it's orange so it might stain your teeth.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, my parents used to take me to Scotland on holiday. A couple of times we went to Edinburgh, and in the August they had the military tattoo one. So that was an event that took place at Edinburgh Castle. They built some makeshift stands. We sat and we listened to Scottish music and people parading and walking through. Are there any other cultural events that take place in Edinburgh to look out for?
August, loads of festivals. International Festival, Edinburgh Fringe Festival, Book Festival. There's a film festival as well.
Yeah.
And then later on in the year, you've got the world famous New Year celebrations known as Hogmanay.
Yeah.
So.
And the streets are always fully lined up.
Yeah, there's a street party often on Princes Street.
Yeah.
With hundreds of thousands of visitors.
Yeah.
And they also do a torchlit procession often the night before at New Year, where people walk through the cobbled streets of Edinburgh holding golden beacons of light.
Ah, sounds pretty cool.
Aye.
So, you mentioned earlier when we were walking up the top of the hill before, which hill was that?
The one before that was
The very first one today.
the very first one, Blackford Hill.
Blackford Hill is a good vantage point to see the fireworks on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, brilliant.
So it's quite a popular spot for the locals. They head up there and they got an excellent view of the castle and the fireworks in the distance. Next question on the agenda. What's the best way that people can get about Edinburgh efficiently?
Well, the centre of Edinburgh is really quite compact, so we've done a lot of today by foot.
Yeah.
But there's a good bus network, there's a tram network. So I would say leave the car and either use public transport, or if you're able to, walk around.
And of course the main train station, Edinburgh Waverley, is right in the centre of town. So if you're coming there from afar from the UK, you can take the train into town, and then Edinburgh's your oyster basically.
Yep.
Final question, you've been here how many years? Nearly 20 years?
Yeah.
How do you find life in Edinburgh?
Lovely, yeah. Really nice mix of outdoor spaces, things to do indoors, bits of culture, bits of history. Yeah, friendly folk. Yeah, couldn't beat it for me.
Very good.
Tempt you up there one day.
Maybe one day. And that's a wrap for the weekend in Scotland. Some nice trips to Dundee and Edinburgh. A lot of people complain about the weather in Scotland. They say it's too cold, it's always raining, but I was here for 2.5 days and I managed to get myself a tan, but to be honest, they are right. Half the time I was wearing a hat and gloves. So if you are coming here, even in the summertime, I guess, just make sure you've got a warm set of clothing, hat and scarf if you need, but don't forget the sunscreen at the same time. So big thanks to Stephen for showing me around Edinburgh, and a big thanks to Ella for showing me around Dundee. I'm going to hit the road now, got a 4-hour drive home, going to recuperate for a couple of days, and then we're going to hit the road again for a new country. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and share the video with your friends, your family, your pets and your enemies. See you in the next one, thanks for tuning in.